You know how in hip-hop, like, one of the coolest things has always been that energy between artists, playing out in these, like, incredible lyrical battles?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it feels like something's shifted recently, like something that's a real departure. And I think you've probably seen the headlines already, right? Drake has taken legal action, and it's causing, like, a massive stir online with people talking about, potential consequences that could, like, reshape how things go down in the genre.
Yeah, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, this isn't just about who can drop, like, the harder bars anymore, right? It's, following the just huge success of Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, Drake has made a pretty significant move, I would say, by involving the courts. And as you can imagine, this has, really ignited this intense debate among listeners and within the industry about, like, what does competition even mean? What does authenticity mean in rivalry? Like, what do those things truly mean in hip-hop today?
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. So after Not Like Us became, a cultural phenomenon, right? Drake went to the legal system.
Right.
And he's essentially seeking what's called a discovery process.
Right.
And this allows his legal team to request information and documentation relevant to the success of that track from various parties. It seems like he wants to understand and perhaps challenge how it reached such widespread popularity.
That's exactly right. And a judge has actually granted Drake permission to proceed with this discovery.
Wow.
While we don't yet have, like, all the specifics of exactly what he's looking for, the main objective appears to be to really dig into the data and information surrounding how Not Like Us was promoted and how it achieved such a wide reach, across the board.
Yeah, and you can feel the shockwaves online, right?
Yeah.
You see everything from people saying Drake is completely out of touch with the culture to others arguing that he's bravely trying to uncover something potentially unfair happening behind the scenes in the industry.
Yeah.
What strikes you as the reason this particular action has resonated so strongly?
Yeah, so I think there are several layers to consider here. Firstly, you just think about the sheer scale and cultural impact of this entire Drake-Kendrick Lamar situation, especially culminating in a track as impactful as Not Like Us, right? It created a very, very charged atmosphere.
Right.
So for Drake to then turn to legal action, it feels to many like a really, really significant break from how hip-hop rivalries have traditionally played out, which was primarily through the music itself.
It almost feels like crossing some unspoken boundary, doesn't it?
Yes.
Instead of hitting back with another track,
Yeah.
the move is towards depositions in courtrooms.
Yeah.
What does that signal to you?
Exactly. And I think this feeds directly into the ongoing conversation we often hear about authenticity within the genre, right? For some, Drake's decision suggests a reluctance to accept a loss in the traditional hip-hop arena.
Interesting.
And a reliance on external, legal mechanisms. And this raises some important questions about how artists should compete and resolve their differences.
Right. Now, what's interesting is how Drake's side is framing this legal development. Reports suggest they're seeing this as some sort of victory, even hinting that they're on the verge of uncovering some truth that Kendrick Lamar's label, UMG, were supposedly trying to keep quiet.
Yeah.
What do you make of that spin?
Well, what's so fascinating here is precisely that framing.
Okay.
Drake's team is attempting to present this as a moment of revelation, suggesting they believe the success of Not Like Us wasn't genuine and that their legal efforts will expose some kind of manipulation or unfair practice. They're even saying things like, we want to see what UMG was so desperately trying to hide.
But from another angle, doesn't this seem like a potentially risky move for Drake himself, in your opinion? Opening up this kind of legal process could also lead to his own promotional methods and industry connections facing scrutiny, right?
That's a crucial point. If Drake is going to start questioning the strategies behind the success of his rivals, he inevitably opens himself up to similar questions. The discovery process, can be a double-edged sword.
Right.
There's a very real possibility that his own practices could come under examination as part of this.
Yeah. And some of the commentary we've seen really emphasizes this.
Yeah.
Painting Drake's actions as almost anti-hip-hop. And suggesting that his supporters might be fooling themselves into thinking this is a win. There's a strong feeling among some that this isn't the way things should be handled within the culture. What does that perspective tell you?
Yeah, the commentary really highlights a significant viewpoint within the hip-hop community that sees this legal action as a sign of weakness.
Okay.
Or an inability to engage within the established traditions of the genre. Even the term Karen was used.
Wow.
Which, while I know a loaded term, reflects a sentiment that Drake is resorting to external authorities rather than resolving things within the artistic realm. So you can see, this action has really struck a nerve with some listeners.
It's interesting how this has also reignited conversations about how success happens in music.
Yeah.
The whole idea of what's organic and what might be. Less so. There have been whispers and accusations for a while now about things like botting, which is the use of automated accounts to artificially inflate online engagement, and other ways of artificially boosting streams and engagement. Drake's legal move seems to be tapping into those existing anxieties.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting. Drake's initial approach seemed to be hinting at the idea that the success of Not Like Us was driven by these kinds of artificial means. However, the commentary we've observed suggests that his team may have even started to move away from that specific angle.
Really?
Perhaps realizing they lacked the concrete evidence to support it.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's kind of shifted a little bit.
So if they're shifting their focus, where do you think it's going? Just to a general examination of UMG's promotional strategies, what might they be hoping to find there?
Yeah, it appears so. The focus seems to be broadening to include the wider promotional environment surrounding Not Like Us. Potentially looking for any unusual activities or advantages that might have contributed to its rapid and widespread popularity. But as we discussed, this could really open a Pandora's box of potential disclosures for everyone involved.
The commentary also brought up a worry about the potential chilling effect this could have on the art form itself. The thought that MCs might become hesitant to really express themselves fully or engage in those intense lyrical battles if they fear the loser will just end up in court is a pretty concerning prospect, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a very, very valid concern. Hip-hop has a long and rich history of direct and often confrontational lyrical exchanges.
For sure.
And if legal action becomes a standard response to feeling like you've been outdone artistically, it could fundamentally change the dynamic of competition and potentially stifle creative expression.
Yeah.
Artists might become more guarded in what they say, worried about legal repercussions rather than just artistic critique. I mean, what do you think that would do to the energy of the music?
It definitely feels like this situation is far from over. The judge has allowed this discovery process to move forward, so we can probably expect more information to come to light. But regardless of what that information ultimately reveals, Drake has already made a very significant statement just by taking this legal route.
Precisely. The very act of pursuing this legal path has already had a profound impact on the narrative surrounding this whole situation and on Drake's standing within the hip-hop community.
Right.
The outcome of the discovery will certainly add another layer, but the initial decision to go to court is what has generated so much discussion and controversy.
So just to recap, we've seen that Drake, after Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us became such a massive hit, has taken this unusual step of seeking legal discovery into how that song achieved its success. While his team is portraying this as a potential uncovering of some hidden truths, many observers see it as a move that goes against the spirit of hip-hop and could even backfire on Drake. It might lead to his own industry practices facing closer examination and could further alienate him from the broader hip-hop community.
And it's really important to recognize the inherent contradiction here. Drake, who has operated within the same industry and has benefited from its promotional mechanisms, is now questioning those very mechanisms when they contribute to the success of a rival. This raises some fundamental questions about fairness, consistency, and what the real motivations behind this legal pursuit might be.
This whole situation really leaves you thinking about where hip-hop competition might be headed. Considering Drake's motivations and the possible fallout from this legal battle, what does it really tell you about the drive to win, what authenticity means in this genre, and how these intense rivalries might play out in the years ahead? Could you see more artists turning to legal avenues in the future, or will the traditional ways of battling it out through lyrics and artistry endure? And what might be the long-term cost to the creative heart of hip-hop if these kinds of legal battles become more common?
Yeah, these are really critical questions, and the answers are still developing. This situation has definitely thrown a curveball into how things have traditionally been done, and it will be fascinating to watch how it continues to unfold and what kind of precedents it might set for the future of hip-hop.
Absolutely. This deep dive has definitely highlighted a really pivotal moment, and we'll all be keeping a close eye on any further developments in this ongoing story.